The testimonies, based on the files of the Soviet State Security Service, KGB, confirm that the late Soviet leader threw his weight behind efforts to implement the Balfour Declaration to the Jews by establishing a homeland for them in Palestine in order to save the strategic Crimean Peninsula, south of the Soviet Union, from a Jewish-American plan aimed at establishing this homeland there. The agreed-upon homeland was an autonomous republic in Crimea, as the price for a financial settlement under which Stalin mortgaged the island to guarantee the payment of debts to the Jews amounting to $20 million owed by his regime. According to Polteranen, who was head of the committee for revealing KGB documents, the documents say that Stalin changed his mind when the Crimean Tatars rose up, defying Soviet authority, and attacked the trains that were arriving loaded with Jews to the regional capital, Simferopol, and forced them to return without any of their passengers disembarking to the Crimean lands. The documents say that at this moment, Stalin realized the seriousness of the situation. He decided to withdraw from implementing the idea of establishing a national homeland for the Jews in Crimea, stressing that continuing to do so could undermine the stability that had been achieved in terms of the coexistence of various nationalities in the Soviet Union, especially after the continuous uprisings on the part of the residents of Crimea. And with continued pressure American Jewish finance, and taking advantage of Russia's need for loans to rebuild after World War II, the Soviet destination turned to Palestine. The documents say that Stalin threw his country's weight behind the Jewish project to establish a homeland in Palestine, so that the promised homeland would not be established on the land of the Soviet Crimean Peninsula. The documents confirm that Stalin, he was aware that the pressure from the Americans was not targeting the interests of the Soviet Jews who were trying to settle them in Crimea, as much as it was aimed at serving American geopolitical interests, which required Stalin to have the greatest amount of cunning and maneuvering. Amara quotes Polteranen as saying, "The Americans had hardly begun. In demanding that Stalin pay the value of the financial instruments, he declared to them his readiness to implement his obligations towards establishing a national homeland for the Jews, but in Palestine, not in the Crimean Peninsula. He also announced his agreement to deport the largest number of Jews there and arm them with all the German weapons he seized. It was offered to the Jews of Palestine as a discount on the debts the Soviet Union owed to the American Jewish Agency.